Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TechFest seminar, using technology to deliver a blended approach to CEIAG and provide world-class careers guidance. May I present our speaker for today, Sophie Alton.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. I'm Sophie, and I work for a social enterprise called UniFrog. Now, we support schools and colleges across the UK and globally with their careers programmes. Over 1 million students and over 120,000 teachers use our online platform. So we're in a pretty unique position to track trends and deliver key insights into anything and everything careers related. Today, we are going to cover different approaches to enhancing students' skills development and careers education in the current climate. And you will find out more about UniFrog during the session as well. Now, I've put a couple of polls up, which hopefully you can all see. We're getting lots of votes in already, which is great. I can see we've got some UniFrog partners, which is brilliant to see. Lots here who aren't currently using UniFrog. And it's also really interesting for me to see what your main aims for careers are this year. So we've got quite a variety being voted there already. Do use the chat box as well. If there's something, for example, within the main aims for careers that I haven't actually put, obviously that's just a very small selection of what it might be. Do use the chat box to write down what you're thinking of, what you're aiming for, what you're finding. If you are using a digital careers platform at the moment, what are you finding that it is most helpful for at the moment? If that is, increasing student engagement, getting staff involved, centralizing careers interactions, reporting on provision, whatever that is. Now, if anyone has read our latest insights report, I'd be really interested to hear that as well. So please do write in the chat box if you have read that. I'll talk about it a little bit later on, and I'll show you where you can access it if you haven't read it already. But I'm going to be talking through a lot of the key data and the trends that came up in that report. So it'd be really interesting to know if anyone has read it already. So some context to the research that I am going to share with you today. So at UniFrog, we work with nearly half of all the secondary schools and colleges across the UK, supporting them to underpin their careers strategy with UniFrog to ensure that all students move on to the best destinations for them after school. Our online platform is at the heart of the partnerships that we have with schools. So that provides a single go-to place for all careers information, resources, and measurements of impact. In addition to the platform, we also provide bespoke teacher training in all partner schools, and we offer additional CPD to the UniFrog community via webinars, conferences, and training days. We know that listening to the teachers we work with is key to making sure that we are having the most positive social impact that we can. And we regularly work with the UniFrog community and ask for feedback and hear what is going to be most useful. In our most recent survey, 95% of schools reported that UniFrog has a significant positive impact in their school. So that is obviously brilliant to hear. Moving forward, we're going to keep pushing the positive social impact that UniFrog has in schools and colleges with students and teachers. So in addition to careers-related topics, the platform and our resources are also expanding into topic areas such as climate change, anti-racism, LGBTQ+ areas to encourage a sense of global citizenship via UniFrog. Alongside our core UniFrog community of careers and progression-related teachers, we're now working more closely than ever with HE staff, with employers, and with industry experts to broaden the possibility of the impact that we have. So now that you've heard a little bit about who we are and what we do, these are the objectives for today's session. So over the next 30 minutes or so, I am going to share some of the latest data on what students are facing at the moment, and I will give 3 key trends into students' attitudes towards their future careers, their aspirations and skills development. Next, thinking positively, I'm going to highlight the opportunities that these findings present. And then finally, I'm going to suggest 3 tangible next steps based on these learnings to enhance your CEIAG provision and to better support your students in the current climate through a blended careers programme. The content which I'm going to cover today will be relevant and useful for all schools and colleges, regardless of whether you're a UniFrog partner or not. So I'll start by going through the 3 key trends which have emerged in relation to students' aspirations and skills development over the past 12 months. The 3 trends which I'm going to highlight are just a small handful of the trends which are highlighted in our latest Insights report, which I was talking about right at the beginning. We regularly release these reports. They are free, downloadable to everyone via the UniFrog website. Our latest report focuses on skills and enterprise, but we've had previous reports focuses on topics like student wellbeing and higher education. The reports are created based on students' usage of the UniFrog platform, as well as survey responses from students and staff, and commentary is offered by various experts in the field, including employers and HE institutions. For example, Skills Builder and PwC are just 2 of the experts who provide commentary in our latest report. Okay, our key trends right here. So these probably won't surprise you, but it is good to specifically identify these trends so that we can focus on actionable next steps. Firstly, students are concerned about the impact the pandemic has had on the labour market and their future job prospects. Secondly, the pandemic has negatively impacted student skills development in the sense that they feel it has hindered their ability to develop skills relevant for their future pathways. And finally, students are worried about the availability of opportunities for them to develop their skills. So let's just talk a little bit more about each one. Coming to students' worries about the labour market, first of all. 72% of students think that the pandemic will make it harder for them to find a job. Between March and July 2020, 50% of all eligible 16 to 24-year-olds were furloughed. They were the most likely group to be furloughed and the most likely to lose their jobs entirely. According to the ONS, the number of NEETs amongst 16 to 25-year-olds rose by 0.6% in the last 3 months of 2020, which is actually the largest quarterly increase since 2011. Sectors where the workforce is dominated by young people, such as hospitality and retail, were unsurprisingly hit hard. But we also saw the number of adverts for graduate jobs drop by over 60% compared to 34% for jobs of all levels. The older students are, the more likely they are to value job security when choosing a career path. And job security is the most important factor for students across the board, apart from Year 10 students who value money the most and job security second. Now, I'm sure we will all anticipate that the labour market is not going to recover instantly from the impact of the pandemic. And it's clear from this data that even students who aren't set to enter the labour market for a number of years value the certainty that job security can bring. Now, we will, of course, come back to this when we're looking at opportunities. But next, I want to talk about the second trend. So following on from students' concerns about the labour market, student skills development has also taken a serious hit during the pandemic. The majority of students in Year 11 to Year 13 believe that the pandemic has made it harder for them to develop key skills. Now, on UniFrog, students log their skills development against the Skills Builder framework, which is a framework of key competencies valued by employers and universities that's differentiated based on the year group or the level that students are at. The competencies which were logged the least during 2020 were those which typically rely on face-to-face interaction, so communication and teamwork. In addition, these 2 skills are the ones which students think employers value the most. So we can see how students thinking that they don't have the required skills for employment is really going to impact their confidence, their willingness to apply for opportunities, and possibly their likelihood to become NEET. Just out of interest, if anyone had a guess at which competencies were logged the most often during that same time period on UniFrog, it was independence and staying positive. Again, not that surprising, but great that we've got some very positive, resilient students. And our third trend, so related to the previous trend, students reported finding it harder to find or take part in opportunities which would enhance their skills development during the pandemic. Extracurricular activities and projects in school which they could usually take part in to enhance their skills development were obviously much harder to take part in. And from a careers perspective, there was immediately a big question mark over how work experience could be completed during the pandemic. Okay, so we have gone through 3 of the key trends that the latest UniFrog Insights report has highlighted. So students are concerned about finding jobs and the future of the labour market. Skills development has stalled during the pandemic. And students are uncertain about what opportunities are available to develop key skills that employers and universities value. Again, please do use the chat box. If any of these trends particularly resonate with you in terms of your school or college's context, please do share your thoughts with others here. It's great to open up those conversations. Now, we are at the TechFest. By using tech, so with UniFrog, we have managed to track these trends across the UK, and that is a really key part of building your careers programme. Can you track your students' progress, their interests, their skill sets, their areas of concern, and then use that information to build up or adjust your existing plan? So for those of you who are already using UniFrog, you can see this information for yourself in your context. So look at those usage charts when you sign in, drill down into each student's progress, and make sure that the plan that you build is relevant for them, is addressing their needs, and is going to have the most significant impact and value for your students. So let's go into a bit more detail of what that actually means. We're now going to consider the opportunities that these findings, those 3 trends, what they present, so that we can move towards the actionable next steps, putting a positive and sustainable impact on students' futures. So again, I've got 3 points to go through, addressing each of the trends that we've just looked at. So the first key trend that we identified was the concern that students have around finding a job and the value that they're placing on job security as a key factor when considering career possibilities. The pandemic has led to a shift in the career areas that many students are interested in. So 1 in 4 students have changed the careers they're interested in because of the pandemic. In this time of change, we now have the opportunity to challenge students' perceptions about certain industries and encourage them to aspire to destinations that they may not have previously considered. Just as an example, on UniFrog, students can take a personality quiz and then find jobs across lots of different industries that they might be well suited for. They will learn about each job, what it would involve, how to succeed in that career, and get information on entry requirements and labour market information. Students favourite the careers that interest them, and this data can be tracked and used by their schools to help inform their careers programme. In 2020, the job profiles which saw a spike in interest were in sectors which the pandemic has thrown a spotlight across, such as technology, science, and healthcare. And when we look at the students who say the pandemic has caused a change in career interest, 46% of them say that they're now more interested in one of these growth industries. From March to November 2020, medicine and health was the most popular area of the UniFrog Careers Library, with careers profiles linked to this area favoured over 80,000 times by students in years 11 to 13, just within that time period. If you're a UniFrog partner, have a look at your charts, so the most popular career areas chart, have a look over that period and see if you're seeing a similar trend within your school and your students. Research from 2018 showed the STEM skills shortage was costing the economy £1.5 billion a year, and 48% of STEM employers were considering candidates from overseas in order to meet their recruitment needs. the growth in STEM jobs has outstripped the growth of non-STEM jobs since 2003. And right now, we have a fantastic opportunity to capitalise on students' boosted interest in STEM sectors. Okay, before we talk more about that, I'm going to move on to the next opportunity. So, as well as capitalising on students' broadened careers interest, the pandemic presents us with the opportunity to reframe how we think about skills. For much of the workforce, work in 2020 and into 2021 is very different from what work was like pre-pandemic. How we work has changed and adapted, and we are all applying our skills in different ways. Where students might be struggling to demonstrate the traditional soft skills in the ways that they were used to viewing them, they did say they were fairly positive about the new skills that they were building. So in our survey, 56% of students said they thought the skills they had utilised in lockdown, such as looking after their families, helping out in the community, and using technology for work, they did think they were valuable to employers. Now, the table on the left-hand side of the screen right now shows how the skills that students were recording on the platform changed in 2020. And right now, we have an opportunity to challenge this. So, for example, teamwork, which has had the biggest drop in terms of students logging examples of this skill on UniFrog. Now, teamwork pre-COVID typically meant working in a group, face-to-face, in some capacity. But has that changed? Right now, you can think about that. What have your students done via online learning or at home, which involved being part of a team? And similarly, what about leadership? Do your students have examples of where they've demonstrated leadership by taking the initiative to change something or to do something new during the pandemic? Equally, many students have been using their communication and listening skills to support friends who may be struggling during lockdown. And using technology to work from home often requires a fair bit of problem solving, as I'm sure we all know. McKinsey Consulting reported on the skills which employers will need to encourage amongst their employers to be successful post-COVID. Now, those 4 skills listed are all skills that students will have worked on at some point during the past year. So, working digitally, creativity and innovation, social and emotional skills to aid collaboration, and finally, resilience. So we have the opportunity now to reframe skills development during and post-pandemic into something which is valuable to students and that they have much more confidence in. The final key trend that we looked at focused on students' lack of awareness and concern about opportunities to develop their skills. Virtual opportunities took on a whole new lease of life in 2020 and look set to continue. On the slide right now are just a handful of some of the organisations who have run webinars for UniFrog students, offered virtual work experience, or provided online courses for students to enhance their academic knowledge or skill set. Now, later on in this presentation, we'll look at some of the ways that you can maximise the positive impact of virtual offerings, but from the outset, they offer the opportunity for more students to access encounters and experiences with employers and educational providers, regardless of where they are in the country. For example, top companies such as PwC, JP Morgan and KPMG are running placements, which many more students than usual are now able to complete in their own time without the need to be based in a specific location. Research by the DFE in 2017 found that students attending schools in the most deprived parts of the country were the least likely to find work experience placements. And the most common barriers to schools offering work experience was a limited number of employers in their region and relationships with employers not being good enough. In 2019, teachers, students and HE staff told the BBC how university applications are dictated by train fares. The cost of attending open days and taster days is a barrier for many students and their families, which moving things online could help to alleviate to some extent. So, we have identified 3 key trends related to students' aspirations and skills development during COVID, and the opportunities which these trends present careers leaders and teachers more broadly. focusing on the career areas which have seen a growth in students' interest, reframing how students think about skills, and the opportunities available for students to develop their skills via virtual offerings. So, what can you do now? How can you maximise student engagement with your careers programme, identify those at risk of NEET, and ensure that your students are supported to progress to their best next steps after school? And now I'm going to talk through 3 good action points. Students' concern about finding jobs is pretty understandable, given the content that has dominated the headlines over the past 12 months. The pandemic has triggered a change in career interest for many students, which presents a great opportunity to broaden their horizons and awareness, especially with regards to pandemic growth sectors. Run sessions on different industries, highlight unexplored job profiles. If you're a UniFrog partner, you can use the resources library to find lessons on different career areas, including STEM. Or you could pick a different job profile from the careers library each week to use in assemblies, in tutor time, registration slots, and watch the video interviews with employers in that role. Track what your students are interested in. Track and make sure that every student has explored different careers. Don't rely on students coming to you to let you know that they don't have a plan. Use the tech that's available to you to instantly see that information, to see what students have been exploring and saving. Are they all engaged? Can you maybe tag your potential NEET students and put a particular focus on them? Now, to help with that, the DFE published a really interesting report in 2018, which highlighted the characteristics of long-term NEET students. So their report showed that the students who were most overly represented in the NEET category are students without 5 good passes at GCSE, students with less than 90% attendance at Key Stage 4, and students in receipt of free school meals. So does your career strategy put a special focus on these groups of students? If you have UniFrog, are you using the characteristics and the tagging to highlight these students and then run specialised reports on their engagement? If you're not a UniFrog partner, what system do you have available to you to highlight these students and perhaps prioritise them for a one-to-one with a careers advisor where possible? Alternatively, if you already have established intervention or mentoring work going on, is there a careers element built into this? Okay, and finally, access to up-to-date and relevant labour market information will be key to keeping your careers programme in check with what students want and need to know. LMI helps to put careers in context and helps students anticipate what the world of work may look like in the future with LMI so that they can research the best careers for them and develop the relevant skills. It's important that the LMI you're sharing is impartial and not favouring a particular employer or pathway. Additionally, involve parents and teachers with LMI to enhance their understanding so that they can support students as well. So this could be through sharing LMI via school social media accounts, via newsletters, or maybe staff briefings. For those of you with UniFrog, you'll be able to find LMI for each job profile within the careers library. You'll see statistics for the UK and for your local authority. And then you can track students' engagement with this by tracking which jobs they favorited. You may recall job security being the most important factor for students at the moment, exploring their career interests. LMI gives them a really good indication of that. Okay, our second next step. So students have reported that they found skills development harder in 2020, but as we've talked about, the pandemic presents a great opportunity for them to reflect on any new skills that they've developed and the ways in which they've adapted their more traditional soft skills or shown them in new ways. This is all fantastic stuff to feature in applications for college, apprenticeships, jobs, or university. So do set aside time for students to reflect and record their skills development. Are you giving students a space to record their competencies? Do they know where they should be doing that? Can they think of examples of when they've demonstrated a particular skill set? And again, are you tracking this stuff? If you can, schedule time throughout the year for students to reflect on their skills development and linking it to careers. So how can that inform their future careers and their post-16 or post-18 choices? If your data, once you're tracking, if your data is showing you that your students, like so many others across the country, are struggling with teamwork at the moment, how can you help them reframe the way that they've demonstrated this skill? Have they done any work together remotely, like so many businesses are doing at the moment? Skills Builder offer further tips within the Insights report that I've been referencing, and one of their key recommendations is this. A consistent focus on the essential skills helps ensure everyone's shared understanding and makes building these skills as tangible as possible. So one of the things of that, one part, is using the same language all the time makes a really big difference. Do all staff and students use consistent language when referring to competencies and to the skills that they're learning? Encouraging subject teachers to embed skills development into their lessons. So for example, signposting which skills students are using in their lessons, maybe putting it up on the PowerPoint slides. That will help to make skills development just part of the house style within your school. And finally, put skills into context in terms of the real world. So this could be through themed weeks. Maybe a week is focused around a certain skill each day, and students can discuss a different job that requires that skill in tutor time each day. Okay, and our third action point. Students felt like it was harder to source skills development opportunities in 2020, although employers and universities adapting their support into virtual offerings presents a great opportunity for students to continue their skills development at a distance. However, I am sure that at some point or another over the past year, you have had more information about virtual opportunities than you can realistically sift through. A worry about overwhelming students, overwhelming parents and staff with information has really come to the forefront this year. And it's proven difficult at times to cut through the COVID noise. Relentlessly email the opportunities that are sent to you, to everyone else, is unlikely to lead to students actually being able to understand why each opportunity may be valuable to them. So, what information do you have available to you which can help inform what you send and to whom? So, for example, if you're a UniFrog user, you might just want to send the offer of medicine-related work experience to the students who have searched for medicine in the UK Uni tool or related jobs in the careers library. It's worth considering how you can empower students to search for opportunities themselves, since our research highlighted the fact that the majority of students weren't sure where to look for those opportunities, and they can narrow it down to what's useful for them. If you're not a UniFrog partner, you can find the upcoming webinars that we're running on our website. So just go to our website, click on the Insights tab. All of these webinars will be the same ones that are listed within the webinars tool for UniFrog students, but these webinars are available to anyone. So you can go to our website, find that list of webinars, and then send over interesting opportunities to your students. They are all free and any student can attend. After Easter, we are running our next subject discovery series, so students will be able to learn about different university courses and hear from expert panelists on each one. Additionally, in the Insights report, you can find various case studies of students who have completed virtual work experience and their reflections on their placements. So maybe consider sharing some of those with your students just to give them a little bit of insight. Consider what it is that you want to achieve from work experience this year. Will a virtual placement suit all of your students? Because maybe instead, you might want to swap it out for a week of skills and enterprise related sessions in school, or consider other ways that you can encourage links between employers and students through enterprise projects or mock interviews or other virtual opportunities. If you're concerned about what that could mean from a Gatsby benchmark perspective, the CEC have provided guidance through their Careers in Context guide and their Make It Meaningful framework. So do look those up. And finally, tracking engagement with these opportunities is really important to make sure that all students from all backgrounds are accessing the support and the opportunities which could be beneficial to them. If you're using UniFrog, do this via the activities or the interactions tool. So to conclude, we have covered 3 of the key trends from 2020 in relation to students' aspirations and skills development. Those key trends were: students are concerned about finding jobs, and job security is the most important factor for them at the moment when considering their career interests. Students felt like the pandemic had a negative impact on their skills development, and they felt like there were fewer opportunities for them to build on their skills. Now, these trends provide us with some key opportunities. So again, 3, to broaden students' awareness and excitement for different sectors, especially STEM-related careers. We can reframe how students think about their skills so that they're able to reflect on what they learnt and the value they added to their skill set during the pandemic. And number 3, virtual opportunities offer a great alternative for skills development in a potentially more inclusive way than ever before. And then finally, we talked about what to do now, how to act on these opportunities and ensure that your careers programme has a sustainable, positive impact. So our 3 action points were: gathering insights into what your students are exploring, into what's important to them, what do they need to know, labour market information being a key part of that. We were going to build in opportunities for students to reflect and record their skills, and making skills development part of the everyday norm of what students do in school in a way that's relevant to them. And finally, being strategic and mindful with the virtual opportunities, taking time to consider the desired outcomes of them will help to maximise their potential positive impact. The pandemic has totally turned upside down the way that we deliver education and guidance, but there have been upsides to that. Delivering remotely using tech means that you can reach more students, you can track progress and engagement, and you can get key insights on how best to support your students and make sure that they find the best next steps for them and succeed in whatever pathway they go down. Thank you so much for coming along today. If you'd like to find out a bit more about UniFrog and what we do, you can go to our website, unifrog.org. You can download the Insights report I referenced today, along with all of our previous reports. So just go to the Insights tab on our website. You can email me, I'm sophie@unifrog.org, or come along to the expo stand. I will be there this afternoon and tomorrow. If you are already a UniFrog partner school, then I'd invite you to sign into the platform and get in touch with your area manager or your account manager to discuss putting into action some of the things that we've discussed today, and perhaps building up your own reports to see if the trends that I've highlighted nationally apply in your context as well. So thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Sophie. That was fantastic. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We're just entering into a lunch break now. The next session is set to begin at 1:15, which is our next keynote. I'm happy to leave this room open for a little while if anyone's got any questions. So feel free to put them in the chat.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. And yes, do, as Dan says, if you have any more questions or want to talk through anything, do put it in the chat. Or if you want to Zoom off to lunch, obviously, totally understandable. I will be in the expo stand, so we can have a conversation there as well.